We got our quarterback guru in with us again that we bring in every Tuesday. My man CJ. He is joining the show and basically just help break down some of this bad quarterback play that we've been seeing, man. Some of this bad quarterback play. CJ, how's it going, my man?
Doing well on this end, Big B. How are you doing?
We are doing all right. We are doing all right. Uh, so last night, let's just start with last night. People getting on me about Herbert because I've said for a long time I just won't anoint Herbert as a top quarterback in this league, as a top five, top three quarterback. I'm just not going to do it. Last night was a little bit of vindication because he was missing throws all over the place. Although he's still a great quarterback, and give us your breakdown and your assessment of Herbert.
So I'll start with a really short story about the 2020 Combine. Herbert was there, so was Tua, and those are two of the nicest guys you'll meet, right? Just talking to him. But there was a couple of questions that came up about, being the guy. And his responses were kind of made it seem like his personality wasn't that alpha dog, the guy who's going to come out and do that. That gives me pause on a personal level. So we
Okay.
fast forward. It's showing itself. It showed itself at Oregon. It's showing itself again. And Herbert is a good case study. There's guys who are just stellar elite. That's Joe Burrow. I mean, that's Patrick Mahomes. There's guys who are asked to do too much to carry a team. That's Lamar and Josh Allen. Herbert is we have a guy that we don't have to look for anything else. We have to look for another quarterback. We have our guy. He is a franchise quarterback, but he's not a franchise carrying quarterback. You can't depend on this guy to pull out big games. I've always questioned people on Herbert where show me his big win. You said
Yeah.
earlier, winning's not a quarterback stat. I think that you can play both sides of that. It shouldn't define a quarterback, but when I need you to show up, that's when wins matter. And
Yeah.
Herbert hasn't done that throughout his whole career. The only time I can remember is against Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, and it was with his legs. So Herbert's just a guy who uber talented. They don't need to look for a new quarterback yet, but he's not going to carry a franchise.
Yeah. That my sentiment exactly. And because people will give him a pass on everything, I'm like, if it was Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson that gave up a 27-0 lead in the playoffs last year, they would crucify both of those guys till the end of time. Till the end of time. And yet, Herbert, people don't even want to talk about it right now. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So, but a lot of people talking about not too many good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. I think last week only two teams scored above 26 points in the league. That's not good, CJ. That's not good, CJ. What is going on with quarterback play, man?
I don't think quarterback play is necessarily regressed. What's happening is quarterbacks don't have the same setup as they've had for years. They've been protected, and they've kind of made the rules hurt the quarterback. What I mean by that, offensive line plays bad. It's not because these guys aren't talented. It's because whether it's in college, certain guys aren't getting taught certain techniques, or in the NFL, they're not getting a hit as much. An
Yeah.
offensive line, I mean, you know this, Big B, you need contact. You need people
Yes.
actually coming at you. So I think they've had less time. Things have been more muddy. And so unless you are super elite, again, the Mahomes, Burrow when he's healthy, Allen, that type of quarterback, you're not going to supersede that.
Right. Right. Yeah, that was the one thing that I've been hitting on with people is hitting back. Is like the offensive line play the last 3 to 5 years has been absolutely atrocious. Just atrocious. Don't get taught techniques. Yeah, it's almost like they don't use the sled, but I've been seeing that from the high school level up, people not using the 5-man and 7-man sled. I'm like, huh? Why? Why? I mean, that's like the cornerstone of teaching a kid how to block. And they don't want to use that. It's absolutely insane. And you're right. It does hurt quarterback play because there's tons of muddy pockets, just muddy pockets all over the place, man. Having said that, I put out a post on, what was it, Sunday. 49er fans jumped all over me, said, see, this is Brock Purdy. That Brock Purdy got exposed. People are mad. They're still mad at me. Am I wrong? And because what I said was Brock Purdy is a good quarterback if he has everything there for him. You take away the best running back in football and the best gadget guy in football, and he goes 12 for 27 for 125 yards. That can't be good. That can't be good.
You're right, especially from this perspective. I think that there's been certain entities that have tried to push this narrative about Brock Purdy that has nothing to do with him. Uh, if that's what you're trying to do, make him elite, make him this, you're absolutely right. To me, Brock Purdy has played A to A plus football this season, and
Absolutely.
he did even on Sunday against Cleveland. He's limited. He's an in-structure guy who has a little bit to him where he can play out of it sometimes, but that guy's not going to go out there and put a team on his back. There's a reason he was the last pick in that draft. It wasn't because he hadn't played a lot of football, he wasn't talented. That guy is not that. He's not a Madden creative player. Those are the types of guys that he's going up against. And with the limitations he has, he's done an excellent job. But yeah, he is more of a in structure, got to put pieces around him. He'll manage. He's a perfect Kyle Shanahan quarterback. That's exactly
Correct.
what he is.
Correct. Absolutely. And here's a quarterback, and I was going to bring this up to you a little bit earlier, but I decided to wait. The guy that doesn't get talked about enough, that is playing outstanding football right now, and it was always an injury thing, is Tua. Tell us how good Tua is, CJ. Tell the people how good Tua is and where he can go.
So Tua, I mean, I hate the comp of Drew Brees because they're not the same type of player. But
right.
Tua, when you looked at him in Alabama, his strength wasn't, Tua's got this big arm and Tua can get out. Tua was a timing-based, super accurate quarterback. You know what they gave him? Super fast dudes.
Yes.
They used a timing-based offense, and now this guy looks like one of the best, if not the best quarterback playing the position right now. And how good is he? Tua, if you're taking everything encompassed, Tua is B+ ceiling in a big moment quarterback because he doesn't have that extracurricular talent that some of these other guys have. But if you give Tua Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and a 4x1 team, they could win a Super Bowl with a guy like Tua.
Yeah. I like Tua. The Fins defense is starting to get better. I picked him to win the division before Jalen Ramsey got hurt. But then when he got hurt, well, now it looks like, with Matt Milano going out, I think Miami's got the upper hand on Buffalo. Even though they lost to him early, I believe they got the upper hand on Buffalo. And I think they can still win that division. And Tua is playing lights out. But he's perfect. He's in a perfect system, too, because they can run the football. Their offensive line has played amazing,
really well.
Even without Armstead. Even when Armstead was hurt, they were still playing amazing. So more power to them. And here's another guy. And tell us what you think. Another guy that doesn't get talked about enough that I think should be in the MVP conversation, Jared Goff. Tell us what you think, dislike about Jared Goff.
So Jared Goff is I'm on a show. Jared Goff is a situation where Jared Goff has always needed assistance. It's kind of like a Tua situation, except one thing that Jared Goff has now that he did not have when he was with the Rams. Jared Goff has some, I don't know how to say this comfortably, some stones. He'll stand in there now. I used to watch him with the Rams. If things weren't perfect, he kind of crumbled. He wouldn't take that big hit. I've watched him at least 5 times.
Right.
Even this week, a couple of times. Get hit straight in the mouth, deliver the ball, get up, shake it off, and go. Jared Goff is now that guy who has to be considered a top 10, if not top 5 quarterback with what he's doing this year. Not based on talent, but they made a perfect team around him, and that guy is doing what he needs to do in the right moments, in big moments.
Yeah, I like what Jared Goff is doing, and you are 100% correct. There were plenty of times where you even saw it in the Super Bowl. He didn't want to take a hit, didn't want to take a shot, nothing. Would throw the ball and turn his back almost to not get hit, to stand in there. He's a totally different guy now. Totally different guy. So good for him, man, for turning his career around. Because I think it was on the skates and on his way to being a career backup. You know how that goes. And he got another opportunity, and he's making the most of it. Good for him. Because, everybody heard the talk in the offseason, Detroit's going to get a quarterback. And I kept saying, why? Goff played good last year. Isn't that what you want? An inexpensive 29-year-old quarterback that's playing well. That's literally what you want. But I don't know. But it
No,
sounds like he may have solidified himself in Detroit for a while.
yeah.
Couple of things. Kirk Cousins, does he get traded? It's tough to make those kinds of trades in the NFL midseason, but does he get traded from Minnesota?
1% chance. Uh, I didn't think about this early on, and now I'm just going to bring it back in because it's not my take, but I've adjusted and amended it. I consider him being traded because I think they need to move on from Kirk Cousins and you get value. But that's the only position that you just can't trade the starter in season unless something completely detrimental has happened. It's a blow up the situation. I can't think of anyone who's been traded in season who's an NFL caliber starting quarterback
Right.
of relevance. Because, I mean, does Justin Jefferson sit well with that? Does the rest of that team even show up the same way with that? So I can't see him being traded. The trade deadline's too early. What I can see them doing is omitting his contract and then trying to get some trade value for him then, because then he can agree with his landing spot. Because right now he does have that kind of no trade clause.
Right.
So I can see them doing that, but I can't see him being traded in this season, even though the NFL has shocked me before. So that's why I
I
say
gotcha.
1%.
So no trade there. Justin Field dislocated his thumb. And I mean, a dislocated right thumb, on your throwing hand, you're gonna be out for some time, aren't you?
So I don't know how they can bring him back effectively since they're in this position. The offense, even with Justin Fields playing well, doesn't look good. The
No.
situation with ownership and that coaching staff, do they stay together next year? Do they move on from Justin Fields? I mean, I've had this take and I stick to it. The guys I work with don't agree with me, and that's their point. But Justin Fields has to be traded, and it's not a Justin Fields thing. It's not that he can't play. This situation has been a disaster.
Yeah.
They want to move on. I think he'd be perfect in Atlanta, even
Yep.
though I hate it as a Saints fan. And if they're smart business folk, let that thumb not only fully heal, but it's a great excuse to use to sit him down longer and longer and longer. Not get him any more injured. Let that young guy come in and not be good because you know you're going to be turning over the roster next year no matter what.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
he's not coming back. I can't see him coming back within a month, personally.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I think it's going to be a while. And they're going to lose all those games, or they should. I shouldn't say they should. More than likely, they're going to
They
lose
will.
those games. I mean, the Bears are a disaster. Just from the top down, the Bears are a disaster. Um, let's see. I feel bad for Atlanta because Atlanta, I think, has a roster that can compete to win that division. Look, the Saints don't want to win it.
No.
They literally don't want. My bad, CJ. They don't want to win the division. Tampa, I don't think is even good enough to win it, but they're leading it. Carolina's horrible, and here's Atlanta that will fight you, but the quarterback cannot get it. Ritter is bad. He's bad. Did they not see that coming in the offseason and want to go get a guy?
So I don't feel bad from Atlanta. And this is as an analyst, not even as a Saints fan. I don't feel bad for Atlanta because Atlanta, their hubris got in their way. They decided to go with a generational type talent and Kyle Pitts instead of making the smart decision, which was, hey, we have Arthur Smith. I know what he likes to do. We have a guy who's from 39 miles away from the stadium. Let's go get Justin Fields
Yes.
at 4. So pick that was
Yes.
terrible. Number 2, held on to Matt Ryan for too long. Number 3, Desmond Ritter is Desmond Ritter. He is a spot starter / low end starting quarterback,
Right.
not in that system. He played much better in a system like the one they wanted to run in Detroit. That would fit what he does. They're trying to make him do things that honestly he does not do. And he's bad because that offense requires some stuff that he just doesn't have personally. And yeah, I mean, the situation's awful for him. I feel bad for him, not the Falcons as an organization.
Right. Nope. Totally understand. Totally understand. And one more question. I'm going to get this to you. I know you got to run. I'll get you out of here. Last night we saw Dak Prescott play a good football game. He played a good football game. I'm not going to say it was spectacular. What is the reasoning or the holdback, or because why are you throwing 7 targets to CeeDee Lamb, who's clearly, whether people think he's a number 1 receiver or not, he's their number 1, but then you want to throw 10 targets to Oh my gosh. The backup just
Michael Gallup.
yes, Michael Gallup. Why does he get 10 targets and CeeDee Lamb? What is going on in Dallas?
They have a dated offense that doesn't use enough movement. They don't understand how to put people in spaces to win. And unfortunately, Dak Prescott, who has not played well, he's getting the biggest brushback based on being set up with the worst situation. That Dallas quarterback position, you have to have the thickest skin ever, and that's
Yeah.
tough to do, especially when you've been handcuffed by a coaching staff that honestly should probably go do something different. They blame Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore wasn't the problem. The problem
No.
is you honestly don't have a good decision maker at running that organization right now as a head coach. And I know that this is a tough take to make, but I'm willing to stand on my takes. I think that the reason that Dallas isn't good enough is because Mike McCarthy is their head coach, and they won't win anything with him there.
Got it. I just flabbergasted how Mike McCarthy is even a head coach with all the stuff that came out about him and what he was doing. But it's typical Jerry Jones. You get a guy that's a puppet. He's running the team anyway. So you plug McCarthy out there. They probably were going to fire him. And he said, hey, don't fire me this year. Give me an opportunity to run it my way. They said, okay, sure, whatever. Just unbelievable. But we'll see. It's a good win for them last night, though. But then again, they were playing against, in my opinion, the worst coach in the National Football League. Brandon Staley doing Staley things again last night. Unbelievable. It just, the analytical nerds are somehow, CJ, are going to have to start getting out of football. They're going to have to start getting out of football.
Yeah. Brandon Staley coaches like he's a degenerate poker player. I've never seen a person make decisions that puts a team in worse positions. To your point earlier, I listened to the show. There's several times he's gone for it on fourth down inside his own 25, including
Yes.
once this year. And you know how many times that makes sense?
Zero.
Absolutely zero times. And it's not even me trying to say, oh, well, the analytics nerds, they have it right. It's because you can use analytics sparingly and correctly. You can't apply them to Daniel Jones and Patrick Mahomes the same.
Nope.
And even though Justin Herbert's really good, Justin Herbert isn't Patrick Mahomes.
Nope.
So, and your defense isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. You have to have people buy in. And I can tell you this, just from watching how they play, they're playing for their jobs, not for the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys are playing for their jobs, not the coach. But we'll see. We'll see. I just think part of Herbert's problem, I give Herbert a hard time, but part of his problem is you got Staley as your coach. So it's issues.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you, man. Again, CJ, thanks for joining us on Tuesday. Like you come in every Tuesday. Tell all the good people again where they can catch all your good stuff at, man.
Sure. Chopping It Up with CJ podcast. You can find that on whether it's Apple Pod or Spotify. Look it up, Chopping It Up with CJ. 4 different episodes per week doing different things. I'm also on the NY Blitz, which is found on the Pix 11 CW affiliate up in the New York tri-state area. So look for me there. And you can find me on Twitter. My handle's at CJ Florida 9. It's at CJ, the entire state of Florida, spelled out in the number 9. I have some interesting takes, and I'm willing to stand behind them. So feel free to come in with some smoke.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it again, man. Thank you for breaking it down for us. The quarterback play. We will see you next week, my man. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Every Tuesday, we bring my man CJ in. He breaks down quarterback play for a living. We love to have him in here. So I appreciate y'all asking questions. But let's get to the Q&A section, man.